All right. So I want to give my greetings and may peace and power elevation be to those of you out there that's in the YouTube world and also in the Facebook world. If you are watching, make sure you share and subscribe and hit the notification bell on the YouTube. If you're watching from Facebook, make sure you share the video. So as of today, we're going to do daily Black history, of course, as always. Um, and so today's topic will be dealing with hey, peace, good morning, how you doing? Or good afternoon. We'll be dealing with a jazz singer named John Coltrane. So that's the daily Black history. John Coltrane was a jazz musician, and I want to give you guys an image of what he looked like. That's him. That's John Coltrane. All right, so on this day, Mr. Coltrane passed away at the age of 40. So we're going to look into his life and his legacy and what he has done as a jazz musician. So let's go ahead and take a look. All right. So that's John Coltrane. And let's look at his early life. Okay, so Coltrane was born in his parents' apartment at 200 Hamlin Avenue in Hamlin, North Carolina on September 23rd, 1926. Was John R. Coltrane, and his mother was Alice Blair. He grew up in High Point, North Carolina, and attended William Penn High School. Beginning in December of 1938, his father, aunt, grandparents died within a few months of each other, leaving him to be raised by his mother and a close cousin. Okay, and then it says in June of 1943, he moved to Philadelphia. In September, his mother bought him his first saxophone and an alto. He played clarinet and alto horn in a community band before beginning alto saxophone in high school. From early to mid 1945, he had his first professional work, a cocktail lounge trio with piano and guitar. To avoid being drafted by the Army, Coltrane enlisted in the Navy on August 6, 1945, the day the first U.S. atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. He was trained as an apprentice seaman at Sampson Naval Training Station in upstate New York before he was shipped to Pearl Harbor, which he was stationed at Manana Barracks, the largest posting of African American servicemen in the world. Time he got to Hawaii in late 1945. The Navy was downsizing. Coltrane's musical talent was recognized, and he became one of the few Navy men to serve as a musician without having been granted musician ratings when he joined the Melody Masters, the bass swing band, as the Melody Masters was an all-white band. However, Coltrane was treated merely as a guest performer to avoid altering superior officers of his participation in the band. He continued to perform other duties when not playing with the band, including kitchen and security details. By the end of his service, he had assumed a leadership role in band. His first recordings and informal session in Hawaii with Navy musician occurred on July 13, 1946. He played alto saxophone on a selection of jazz standards and bebop tunes. Okay. So it says here, after being discharged from the Navy as a seaman, first class in August of 1946, Coltrane returned to Philadelphia, where he plunged into heady excitement of the new music and the blossoming bebop scene. After touring with King Colex, he joined a band led by Jimmy Heath, who was introduced to Coltrane's playing by his former Navy buddy trumpeter William Massey, who had played with Coltrane in Melody Master. He studied jazz theory with guitarist and composer Dennis Sandel and continued under Sandel's tutelage through the early 1950s. Although he started in alto saxophone, he began playing tenor saxophone in 1947 with Eddie Vinson. All right, so this man was a great talent. He was able to play different level of saxophone, which I didn't even know that. I thought a saxophone was just a saxophone. I didn't know they had a tenor saxophone and an alto saxophone or alto saxophone. I didn't even know. But he inherited the skill at a very young age. Um, so let's see. Let's go down here where it says an important moment in the progression of Coltrane's musical development occurred on June 5th, 1945, when he saw Charlie Parker perform for the first time. In a Downbeat magazine article in 1960, he recalled, "The first time I heard Bird play, it hit me right between the eyes." Parker became an idol, and they played together occasionally in the late 1940s. He was a member of groups led by Dizzy, what's his name, Gillespie, and Earl Bostick and Johnny Hodges in the early to mid 1950s. Okay, let me see what somebody said. I heard about Coltrane, very big. They honored him out here in NYC not long ago at one of the big Roman Catholic churches. Oh, they did at a Catholic church. Mm, that's pretty interesting. Wow, interesting. Okay, okay, that's cool. All right, so let's see how he was able to work with Miles Davis and all the rest of them. So you know what? As a matter of fact, let's put up a picture of him and Miles Davis real quick. All right, so that's John Coltrane and Miles Davis. They're playing together. All right, these are these guys right here. And then let's also put up the name of the group that he was playing for. Let's go back to find out the name of the group that he played for. Let's look up Melody Masters. Let's look up the group Melody Masters. Okay. All right. So, hmm. Okay. So that's one of his album right here, John Coltrane with the Red Garland Trio. That's his album right there. That's one of his album cover. But let's go back and look at his story. Okay. So Getting back to the part about Miles Davis and how he ended up working with him and a guy named Monk. All right, so in 1955, Coltrane was freelancing in Philadelphia while studying with the guitarist David Sandel when he received a call from trumpeter Miles Davis. Davis has been successful in the 1940s, but his reputation and work had been damaged in part by heroin addiction. He was again active and about to form a quintet. Quintet means five. Coltrane was with this edition of the Davis Band, known as the first great quintet, along with Red Garland on piano, Paul Chambers on bass, and Philly Joe Jones on drums from October 1955 to 1957. All right. During this period, Davis released several influential recordings that revealed the first sign of Coltrane's growing ability. This quintet marathon recording session for Prestige in 1956 resulted in the albums Cooking, Relaxing, Working, and Steaming. The Great Quintet disbanded due in part to Coltrane's heroin addiction. Now, let's talk about it real quick. So back in those days, right? Back in the time of those 1940s and 50s, jazz was a very popular genre. It was a very popular genre back then. And by it being very, very popular, you had people like Miles Davis, who was like a, you know, big time jazz musician, very popular jazz musician at that time. Then you had what's his name, Duke Ellington. Then you also had people like Louis Armstrong or Louis Armstrong, who all earned that popularity in the jazz field. So now jazz is not of a big genre as of today, but you can hear a lot of jazz elements into the hip hop culture, right? Into the house music culture. You will hear a lot of jazz element, but the jazz itself is like a underground music now. It's not a big genre as it was at one point in time. So, and let's look at some more right here. What else he did? So during the later part of 1957, Coltrane worked with Thelonious Monk at New York's Five Spot Cafe, played in Monk's quartet, July to December of 1957, but only to contractual conflicts took part in only one official studio recording session with this group. Coltrane recorded many albums for Prestige under his own name at the time, but Monk refused to record for his old label. A private recording made by Juanita Nama Coltrane of a 1958 reunion of the group was issued by Blue Note Records as Live at the Five Spot Discovery in 1993. A high-quality tape of a concert given by this quartet in November of 1957 was also found later and was released by Blue Note in 2005. Recorded by Voice of America, the performances confirmed the group's reputation and the resulting album, the Thelonious Monk Quartet with John Coltrane at Carnegie Hall is widely acclaimed. So Blue Train, Coltrane's sole day as leader for Blue Note, featuring trumpeter Lee Morgan, bassist Paul Chambers, and Thelonious Curtis Fuller, is often considered his best album from this period. 4 of its 5 tracks are original Coltrane composition, and the title track, Moment's Notice and Lazy Bird, have become standards. Both tunes employ the first example of his chord substitution cycle known as Coltrane changes. Wow. Okay, then I'll look into that later. So, let's get back down to his relationship with Miles Davis. All right, so it says Coltrane rejoined Davis in January of 1958. In October of that year, jazz critic Ira Gritler coined the term "sheets of sound" to describe the style Coltrane developed with Monk and was perfecting in Davis' group, now a sextet. His plan was compressed with rapid runs cascading in hundreds of notes per minute. Wow. He stayed with Davis until April of 1960, working with alto saxophonist Cannonball Adderley, pianist Red Garland, Bill Evans, and Wynton Kelly, bassist Paul Chambers, and drummers Philly Joe Jones and Jimmy Cobb. During this time, he participated in the Davis session milestones and Kind of Blue and in the concert recordings Mile and Monk at Newport 1963 and Jazz at the Plaza 1958. Okay. So what we're gonna do is all right, we're gonna go ahead and play a little clip on here. Tell me if you can hear it. I'm playing one more time. Okay, what a fantastic player. All right. So we're gonna skip down a little bit more. All right. And we're gonna look at what it says first years with Impulse Records. All right. So this is him again right here in Amsterdam in May of 1961. Coltrane's contract with Atlantic was bought by Impulse. The move to Impulse meant that Coltrane resumed his recording relationship with engineer Rudy Van Gilder, who had his hand recorded hits and Davis session for Prestige. He recorded most of his albums for Impulse at Van Gilder's studio in Inglewood Cliffs, New Jersey. All right. So it says by early 1961, Basic Davids had been replaced by Reggie Workman, while Eric Dolphy joined the group as a second horn. The quintet had a celebrated and extensively recorded residency at the Village Vanguard, which demonstrated Coltrane's new direction. It included the most experimental music he had played, influenced by Indian ragas, modal jazz, and free jazz. John Gilmore, a longtime saxophonist with musician Sun Ra, was particularly influential after hearing a Gilmore performance. Coltrane is reported to have said he got it. Gilmore got the concept. The most celebrated of the Vanguard tunes, the 15-minute blues, "Chasing the Train," was was strongly inspired by Gilmore's music. All right, so we're gonna play another session of his. So again, he had worked with Duke Ellington, who was a pianist. All right, that was a beautiful sound right there. But so yeah, okay, and then let's go down. What stated on March 6, 1963, the group entered Van Gilder studio in New Jersey and recorded a session that was lost after its master tape was destroyed by Impulse Records to cut down on storage space. On June 29, 2018, Impulse released both Direction at Once, the Lost album, made up of 7 tracks made from a spare copy of Coltrane had given to his wife. On March 7, 1963, they were joined in the studio by Hartman for the recording of 6 tracks for the John Coltrane and Johnny Hartman album released that July. Impulse followed the successful Lost album release with 2019's Blue World, made up of a 1964 soundtrack to the film The Cat in the Bag, recorded in June of 1964. All right. So then we're gonna skip all the way down. All right, so and then adding to the quartet, by late 1965, Coltrane regularly augmenting his group with Sanders and other free jazz musicians. Rashid Ali joined the group as a second drummer. This was the end of the quartet, claiming he was unable to hear himself over the 2 drummers. Tyner left the band shortly after the recording of Meditation. Jones left in early 1966, dissatisfied by sharing drumming duties with Ali. And after Coltrane's death, Tyner and Jones in interview expressed displeasure with the musician direction while incorporating some of the free jazz forms intensity in their solo work. All right. There is speculation that in 1965, Coltrane began using LSD, right? Or what we know is the psychedelic drug, informing the cosmic transcendence of his late period. After the departure of Tyner and Jones, Coltrane led a quintet with Sanders on tenor saxophone, his second wife Alice Coltrane on piano, Garrison on bass, and Ali on drums. Coltrane and Sanders were described by Nat Hentoff as speaking in tongues. When touring, the group was known for playing long versions of their repertoire, many stretching beyond 30 minutes to an hour. That's a long damn time. And concert solos by band members often extended beyond 15 minutes. Okay. Yeah. All right, the group can be heard on several concert recordings from 1966, including live at the Village Vanguard again and live in Japan in 1967. Coltrane entered the studio several times, although Peace with Sanders has surfaced the unusual to be has both men on flutes. Most of the recordings were either with the quartet minus Sanders, Expression, and Stellar Regions, or as a duo with Ali. The duo produced performances that appeared on the album in Stellar Space. And finally, okay, finally, we are at the end. In 1967, Coltrane died of liver cancer at the age of 40. And that's very young to die from cancer, especially. On July 17, 1967, at Huntington Hospital on Long Island. His funeral was held 4 days later at St. Peter's Lutheran Church in New York City. The service was started by the Albert Ayer Quartet and finished by Ornette Coleman Quartet. Coltrane is buried at Pine Lawn Cemetery in uh, Farmingdale, New York. Biographer Lewis Porter suggests that the cause of Coltrane's illness was hepatitis, although he also attributed the disease to Coltrane's heroin use. Coltrane's death surprised many in the music community who were unaware of his condition. Miles Davis said Coltrane's death shocked everyone, took everyone by surprise. I knew he hadn't looked too good, but I didn't know he was that sick or even sick at all. All right. So what I want to do is see if I can play a little video clip. About John Coltrane. Peace, Neb. Peace, peace, peace. So you know what? Let's see if I can play a little video real fast. All right. Okay, that wasn't the video I was looking for. That wasn't the video I was looking for. All right, so okay, well, I'm gonna play something. All right, okay, here we go. right. So that was a little clip. Okay, I can't play too much of it, so I'm gonna play. I'm gonna only play like 30 seconds of it because YouTube and Facebook both been on said something about the copyright and shit like that. So I'm gonna play. Yeah, I'm gonna play a little bit of the song Alabama. Okay. I'm gonna show you the video. All right. What? Okay, so of what I am, my faith, my knowledge, my being, of what I am, my faith, my knowledge, my being. Hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna play a little clip of the documentary. Here goes right here.
Favorite things, which literally launched him into public prominence. At 34, John Coltrane was named #1 tenor saxophonist by Downbeat magazine. In 1967, John Coltrane died of a liver ailment, aggravated by substance abuse from his early years in New York and Philadelphia. He was 41 years old. He was survived by his second wife Alice and their 3 sons. The legacy of John Coltrane continues in the education of his music to the children. In honor of John Coltrane, the John Coltrane Cultural Center was established in High Point. The center's main objective continues to be the education of High Point and surrounding communities on the significance of John Coltrane, as well as encourage and support the formal education of grade school children in the art forms of jazz and blues music. In order to reach these objectives, a year-long program of music education was designed, and each year this program culminates in a week-long summer jazz camp. I think that part of
the responsibility upon a music teacher is to provide them exposure to jazz, to some of the classics, and even to some of the pop in limited quantities. I can teach basically any type of music, and I think it's important that we expose them to all.
All right. So, with that being said, John Coltrane was a biggest influence when it came to jazz, and the music that I was playing earlier, those music, it sound familiar, right? You heard them in a commercial somewhere, right? You probably heard them somewhere in a casino. If you went to the casinos, you probably heard that little jazz. When you 9 times out of 10, you probably didn't know that those jazz recordings was coming from him and people like Miles Davis and Duke Ellington. But again, you may not know a lot of these things because you gotta remember. See, back then, black people didn't earn a lot of credit for a lot of the musical work they have done. You know what I'm saying? You have to look at what the type of society they was living in during that time period, right? It was hard for somebody like him to get to that level of success or that level of recognition, right? So his music can be heard, but he won't receive a lot of credit for the person for being the person that composed these various songs. Like he wouldn't be recognized as the composer, right? So, and he probably didn't even get paid a lot of money either. So that probably would led to him doing a lot of heroin and all that, because a lot of those black artists back then, musicians, they didn't get paid as much compared to their white counterparts. So, you gotta look at, he was dealing with the time of the Great Depression, and the time of the whole civil rights era and things like that. It was the whole racial tension going on. It probably took a toll over him, which drove him to do drugs. A lot of those musicians did drugs, and heroin was a powerful drug back then. You know, so. But anyways, let me go ahead and read the comments. All right, and it says, somebody put, it was written in response to the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing on September 15, 1963, and attack by the Ku Klux Klan in Birmingham, Alabama, that killed 4 African-American girls. Absolutely, yes. Yes, that's why the song was called Alabama. You're right. So, yes, it was a dedication or a tribute to those girls that were killed in Alabama, in Birmingham, during the bombing. So, anyways, you guys, thank you for watching. And if you are on Facebook, make sure you share the video. If you are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel and share the channel, please, and hit the notification bell. So, this is Daily Black History. This your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect right here on YouTube and on Facebook through StreamYard. And that's Black History Daily, John Coltrane. Oh, excuse me, John Coltrane. So make sure you guys tune in. All right. And I'll be back later on with other topics that I want to discuss. Topics. But outside of that, y'all have a good one. All right, then. May peace and power and elevation be to all of you, and be safe out here during this pandemic, and let's stay motivated. All right, deuces, peace. Okay, all right then.